And we are going to go live.
Ever since they changed the Facebook Lives, it throws me for a loop every time that I don't know if it's really doing it.
I know, that's why I wanted to double check. Okay, let's try it again because I just tried to put it and it did not go through. Okay. So it opened like a different browser this time.
Oh.
We're going to make it work. It says it's preparing.
Okay, technology, let's do this.
We got this. Okay. And I believe we are, nope, it says setting up for meeting.
My screen says that we're streaming, so let's see.
We're streaming. Okay, we are here on Facebook.
Yep.
Thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm so excited to be here. We are here with Naomi. We're going to be talking about essential oils and we're going to be talking about chakras. And that's why I had to bring this amazing lady in. We have had some friends, some online friends just connect us over the past couple of weeks where we've just kind of been following each other, watching each other. And I finally reached out and I was like, hey girl, we need to talk. I just have this strong connection that we need to talk. And I'm currently going through my NLP certification. And so I wanted to ask her how she's integrating it into all of the amazing things that she does. And so, yeah, that's why I started working with her. And I would love for you to introduce yourself, Naomi.
Yeah. So, hey guys, my name's Naomi Levine, and I'm an energy and mindset coach. So I'm a practitioner of NLP, EFT, time technique, hypnotherapy, all these beautiful, powerful, and potent mindset tools. And I also have a very strong passion for the chakra system. So I now weave them together using the chakra system as an intuitive guide for one-on-one sessions and also as the framework for my group programs. So it's a beautiful blend, and there's so many tools and systems that can be applied to the chakra system, and essential oils is one of them. So I'm really excited to be here and sharing this. And I was telling Marissa earlier, so one thing that I do for myself and with my clients is using my oracle cards. I do a chakra card spread. So I pull 7 cards, one for each chakra, and intuitively give a reading off of that. And this morning, one of the cards I pulled, this was for the solar plexus, which is all about power and strength and taking action, was this card right here, Arakura. Blossoming. So you are just getting started. So have patience with yourself and the process and do not give up, which in and of itself, I think is a great reminder that this is always a journey and there's always these ways to learn and expand and bring oils into our lives and work with the chakra system. And the really cool thing with this card, I then went to the guidebook. I know this deck well, but I always turn to the guidebook just to see like what stands out to me in the messaging. And under the meanings and practices for this card is use aromatherapy and or flower essences.
That's so
perfect.
Yes.
Yeah. Meant to be. Nothing is a coincidence. So I truly believe that.
Absolutely. I love how the world just kind of comes in when we need it and just affirms that what we're doing on our path is the direction that we're supposed to be moving and grooving on. So that's so fantastic. Well, today we're going to be sharing how to really mesh these two worlds of ours and how to really go through each of the chakras and what that means. And then also how to actually activate essential oils and use them while you're practicing chakra balancing. So I'm going to hand the table over to you, girl. Let's go.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Oops, sneak peek.
Ooh, look at that.
Okay. Here we are with Chakra Shine. All of my programs, I use the terms Chakra Shine and Slay and Shine. So that's my, that's where all of my mantras come from. So diving in with a little bit about what the F are chakras anyways. It's sometimes can seem like so woo when people don't want to touch it, but essentially the chakra system is something that everybody has. We all have these 7 energy centers within us. And so you can think of them as being aligned like wheels and interconnected cogs along your spine. So along your spinal cord, going from your base at your tailbone all the way up to the top of your head and out to the universe. So essentially, I like to think of them as energy centers that manage energy. They don't create it, they manage it. So if you think of it as like an office building, each energy center is its own department, right? So it's receiving, assimilating, storing, and expressing energy in different ways. And everything when we talk about the chakra system really comes down to polarities and dualities. So simply the idea of balance and imbalance. A lot of times when people talk about chakras, you hear people say that they are blocked or they're overactive or they're balanced and imbalanced. So the other thing that it really comes down to is in this language, I like to think of the chakras as an energetic language. We're talking about heaven and earth, freedom and boundaries, mind, body, spirit, matter, expansion, contraction. And when we start to understand how each of the chakras, each of these energy centers has these dualities and has these characteristics and properties, it helps us better understand ourselves and the world around us, which then allows us to really feel grounded, aligned, and really get to healing certain things.
I love it.
Yeah. So this is a quick little overview. We'll go into each one, but essentially working from your root chakra is at the base of your spine. This is all about having and being, when we talk about moving from root to crown, we're moving from the physical plane to the mental and spiritual plane. So the sacral chakra, that's your abdomen. It's all about feeling, wanting, emotions. Your solar plexus is aligned with your belly, and that's all about action. Like I said before, your power.
Yes.
Your heart chakra is about loving and being loved, supported and being supportive. Your throat chakra is about speaking and being heard and self-expression. Third eye, all about visioning, both being able to see what's inside you and what's around you. And then the crown chakra being about the overall knowing and connecting to the universe at large.
I love that you have them just so laid out simple like that. And I love the thought process of them being in a wheel and they're moving, because it's so true. I think that sometimes when we get so bogged down where, oh, my essential oil, my chakra is stuck or uneven or unbalanced, we think of it as not moving. So I love that you put the mental image of it constantly moving in our
Yeah. So if anyone's familiar with like aura photography and chakra photography, which is something I personally am obsessed with, it's like I seek it out where I go. Anytime I go on vacation, I'm like, is there one around here? Can I get it done? But you can, different systems show it differently, but a lot of times you can see that your aura, your chakras, your colors will be brighter or they'll bleed into one another. And so it's this idea, right, of the wheels and the cogs that fit together. Yes. And we talk about healing and balancing. So if there's something with, say, your heart chakra that's out of balance, a lot of times you need to tune into the throat and solar plexus, because it's what's before and after that helps balance everything around it.
Wow, I had no idea that that's what that, you can check in on the other ones to see how that is. That makes total sense.
Yeah. And again, it's the idea of like the polarity. So like you might really think, this happens with my clients a lot. They come into the session thinking like, I'm having trouble like with my messaging in my business, so that must be a throat chakra thing. And we go through a couple exercises and it's like, oh, nope, it's actually the idea of the heart chakra because you haven't fostered a support system, or it's a little bit of your third eye because you're not truly believing in your vision, so you can't communicate.
Oh my goodness. So anyone watching, I want you to comment below and tell us which chakra you think you need support with, and then look at the above and below chakra and see if those speak to your heart. And go ahead and comment. I want to see those.
Yeah. So the other thing here is, just like these are wheels that are always moving, and it's, sometimes I like to think of the idea of harmony. sometimes balance seems too rigid for people. So it's this idea of the ebb and flow and the harmony between the wheels and the energy centers. And with that in mind, it's important to know that when we work with the path of energy, there's two currents, right? It's like a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
So most people are familiar with the liberation chain, which is working from the root to the crown. And so that's very much at the ascension, expansion, freedom level, and moving from the place of having, feeling, doing towards a place of really seeing, connecting, and knowing. So when I work with my one-on-one clients, we often go in that route because we're talking about that stability, grounding from the root and working our way up to this place of like finding your highest self.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side is the manifestation chain, and that works from the crown to the root. And so this is the idea that as you do the personal development work, really, it brings you from this idea of connecting to the universe to get you grounded and manifest your dreams and bring everything to reality and bring you that stability. So you're going from this idea of like big dreams and big visualization into taking action from an aligned place and then having, being, doing.
Oh, that's so cool. And it's just
Yeah,
like switching, going from the root to crown or crown to root, depending on what you need support with. Ah, that's so
exactly. Yeah, so there are ways to work with each individual chakra and balance them independent of the current. But when you're talking about like more of a journey to a certain goal or whatever it is, we often go through the whole chain. And so depending on what your needs are and what kind of goals you have is kind of how I work with my clients in one direction or the other.
love it.
Yeah. So that then is going to lead us into each chakra. So one thing that I always remind anyone that I work with is it's really easy to do a very simple check-in. I have some meditations that really walk you through each chakra with some affirmations and things like that. So you can tune into what feels aligned, what doesn't. But one thing I love doing is just this basic idea of breathing into each chakra and feeling it expand and feeling it balance and really just tune into your body and what it has to tell you. So just by placing your hands on the physical zone associated with each chakra, closing your eyes, tuning in and taking those breaths and imagining them lighting up and seeing what sort of intuitive messages come to you is a great way to check in and see which chakras need some extra TLC.
Yes.
And the really cool thing is this is where we can activate the oil. So Marissa, take it away on that.
Yes. So activating oils is very, very simple. And I love activating my oils before I put them on at any time. Typically, if you've jumped on a call with me before, you've seen me do this in person every single time. And I actually just learned a new trick that I'll teach you on how to really complete the activation. So I'm going to take the oil Awaken. It's a blend that I absolutely love. It supports the brain, specifically the pituitary and pineal glands, and just making sure that they're not being calcified. And that's one thing that I find when we're working with our body. If we're finding that these two glands in our brains are calcified, we have a little bit harder time connecting in. And so I really wanted this oil specifically to teach you guys how to activate, just so you guys were aware of that you might need some extra ditching the toxins and switching to a natural source to support yourself in this way. So like I said, I've got Awaken, love this one. And I'm just going to take my palm and do 1 to 2 drops in it and just let them drop and really start breathing this in and just start taking the slower breaths. And then I'm going to move my hands together. They're moving counterclockwise right now. So that's what I like to do, is really just activate them coming together, closing my eyes, starting to breathe. So I'm going to stop talking and show you what I do. So after I take my 3 deep inhales and then I bring my oil-filled hands to my nose, I take that last inhale to really get the oil into my brain. And then just like Naomi said, I'm going to hover it over the spot that I want to work on. So whether I'm going crown to root or root to crown, I'm just going to hover it over my crown, my third eye, and each one I'm moving slowly and taking that deep breath. And so this is just an easy way to activate your oils that you can do even if you just want to do a whole body, just like, okay, I just need a few breaths. This is a great way to pull your brain and body connection together.
Totally. I love that too, because some people think the idea of meditating might be intimidating, right? Or like setting a really elaborate morning routine might seem like too much. And this is such an easy way to just like take a few minutes in quiet and stillness for yourself, tune into your breath, tune into your body, right? And like just see what your body has to tell you, because our bodies are powerful, our brains are supercomputers, right?
Yes.
And the oils just really like amplify it, right?
Absolutely. And it's just so fascinating how I took 4 breaths, guys. 4 slow breaths. That was it before I started working. And I don't know if you noticed, but on that 4th one, my shoulders came down. I unclenched my jaw. I wasn't holding any tension anywhere. That was with 4 breaths, guys. It doesn't take that long for us to really connect with ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you tie that into each physical zone, right? Like imagine taking 3 breaths at your heart center, right? Taking 3 breaths at your solar plexus and just like letting that tension ease and like letting yourself kind of glow from within, right? Just like imagine the power that can have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely incredible. And the last thing that I want to say, so once we're done checking in on all the things, I want you guys to say, take a deep breath and then say abracadabra. So abracadabra, technically it means with my words I create. And so if we go through and really check in and align and harmonize ourselves, and then we say abracadabra, then with my words I create this alignment is what happens.
I love that so, so much.
Yeah.
So let me go back and share.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll go through each chakra. Okay. So we're going to dive into the manifestation journey, because that is what really lights me up. And that's what I'm focusing on with my clients right now. So we're going to go from crown to root. So starting with the crown chakra, again, this is all about cultivating consciousness. So it's this idea of creating that meditation space, creating space internally to allow yourself to be open to new ideas and clarity, and really connecting with what I call Gus, God, Universe, Source. I don't take credit for that. I got it from a friend, but I love the idea of Gus. And just starting to become aware of your belief system, right? With these mindset tools that I use, it's really at each step checking in with, are there limiting beliefs, right? And so when we start talking about manifestation, we're really looking at, do I feel worthy of my dreams? That's the very first step. So the reflection for the crown chakra is simply that. Am I worthy of my dreams? And really thinking about that, journaling around it. Is it something that makes you feel positive, negative, neutral? And that sort of like lays the groundwork to move into manifestation mode.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. And I just love how it takes a big picture and pulls it in and just says like, here, this is what you need to focus on.
Yep. And so we've got some oils here. Do you want to talk about the oils that are going to be crown?
So each of these that you can focus on the oil with the crown. So if you're really diving in and wanting to do a full body check-in, I would have one oil that you activate before you start that crown chakra. So you can activate the oil, get it going. And for example, jasmine is a fantastic oil for the crown. So you take that, drop it, activate it, and just take your deep breaths focusing on the crown. And you just kind of hold like a crown above your head, pretty much like you're the queen, you're the king, and just focus on that with the deep breaths. And you can feel the difference when you do this with an oil and without an oil.
Fantastic. Yeah. So the crown chakra really is what connects our physical body to the spiritual and the universe at large. So like like you're saying, we're not actually physically touching our head, right? You can place your hands on the top of your head, but it's really like what connects you to the universe.
Exactly. Yes.
So then we move to the third eye. And so this is all about intuition, imagination, and believing in your vision when we talk about manifestation. So learning to trust yourself, asking yourself questions. What would it look like for my dream to come true? What would it look like for me to be the person who has achieved my dreams? And really, it's the idea of shoot for the stars, right? Dream big. Because as we move through the manifestation chain, we'll get clear on what those actions are going to be and what's actually attainable. But why not dream big to start? Let your third eye run wild there, right? And actively visualize your dreams coming true. So what the exercise is here is to really start brainstorming, what does that look like? Whether it's doing a visualization like a meditation or actually starting to journal. What are those dreams that can become crystal clear in your mind?
Yes, I love that. So this is actually an exercise that I do with my people all the time. We talk about really envisioning the goal being completed and what that feels like and how to
Right.
embody that feeling. And that right there is huge. Once you have that, it's almost like a key to unlocking your dream right there. It's like, oh my goodness,
Yeah.
I just told you the key. So I
Yep.
actually love marjoram. This is the oil that I picked for my third chakra, marjoram. And it is one of those oils that is earthy. It's a little bit earthy, but it's freaking fantastic for supporting the third eye and getting you on board to envisioning what that goal is and believing in it.
Love that. The other thing I want to mention too with the third eye is when we talk about the physical body, the third eye is very much connected to the idea of dreams, obviously with visioning. So anytime you're experiencing any sort of like sleep problems or headaches or things like that, that's third eye related. So what oils would you recommend for sleep and headaches?
So you know what? That's so amazing that you mentioned that. And it's actually marjoram is my number one go-to, but also we've got frankincense, cedarwood, lavender. Those are the three that I would grab in other ones. If you are actually not sleeping, I do 2 drops lavender, 4 drops frankincense, and 4 drops cedarwood when on those nights where I'm really not sleeping. And I dream so much. It's crazy how much I can just remember my dreams when I wake up after that diffuser blend.
I love that. I love that. So that brings us to the throat chakra, which is all about speaking your truth. It's authenticity, it's expression, it's communication, right? And so when we talk about manifestation, it's this idea of being able to communicate your dreams, right? So being clear on your elevator pitch.
Yes.
Can you be really concise and talk about your dream and your goal in a concise, passionate, authentic, honest way? And the practices here are to start sharing those dreams with your inner circle, right? The people who, because the throat chakra is as much about speaking as it is about listening. So when we're talking about communicating your goals, it's who do you feel comfortable speaking your dream to and listening and taking their feedback in. Balance of the throat chakra when we talk about manifestation. So really practicing telling your story, getting clear on that, whether it's speaking it, writing it, just getting clear so that it's, again, it's your elevator pitch. You can tell someone, this is what I do, or this is my goal, this is what I want, in a concise way.
Oh, I love that. I actually just got done teaching about how to speak from your gut, which is pulling that air up into your throat so you can actually project yourself and speak with confidence.
Yes.
So I love that you brought all of these things together within the throat chakra because it is such an amazing balance of, like you said, speaking your truth, but also listening to the feedback that you're getting. Are you actually being clear? And is that the direction that you want to go once you've said it? And how do you respond? Oh my goodness, it's freaking tastic. So the oil that I would pick for the throat chakra is actually spearmint. And spearmint is a lighter, it's not like that mentholy or peppermint. It's a light, almost sweet like mint. And I love this one because it almost balances you out, but also balances the people around you out. So this is one that I also recommend when you have family gatherings. Love my family, love you guys, but I put my spearmint in the diffuser just so all the things can balance out and we can all speak to each other and also listen to each other.
Yeah. So that's a perfect segue to the heart chakra. Not only is spearmint green or like a blue green, but we move into the heart chakra. So the heart chakra is all about green and it's about trusting your heart. So it's, yes, about really loving yourself and your dreams, but it's also about the relationships, right? So if your goal is to say, build a house, you need the architect, you need the interior designer, you need the bank that's going to give you the loan, right? So who's your team?
Yes.
Right? So when you think about your goals, being clear on who your team is so that you can foster those relationships. You can start telling people, I'm going to want your support. This is my goal. I'm using my throat chakra and communicating my goal and telling you that I need your love and support with this. And so really nurturing those relationships and being open to that. And so again, it's the idea of being very clear about what you love about your dream and why, right? So when we talk about the manifestation chain, if we're talking, it doesn't matter what your goal is, whether it's starting a business, whether being a better mom, getting a promotion, whatever, there's always a why, right? And really getting to the root of that. The other thing to note is the heart chakra is the center of the 7 chakras. So regardless of which direction you're moving, the heart chakra could be where a lot of people meet up against barriers. And so really working on balancing that heart chakra allows you to connect the mental and spiritual plane to the physical. So the heart chakra is a really, really important one. So getting really tuned into self-acceptance, because once you can accept yourself, you can love your dreams, you can love others. It's this idea of supporting and being supported and being supportive at the same time.
Oh,
right?
That's absolutely beautiful. And it's so true that we do have to go within and, like you said, you tell yourself you love yourself repeatedly. One of my affirmation is me love all of me, because I think that the subconscious just needs that level of me in it.
Yes.
Yeah. So with your heart chakra, I love to grab my bergamot essential oil. Now, this is one that isn't talked about that often, but it is one that is on me at all times now, guys. It is so supportive. Anytime that I go and I want to do something that's a little bit scary, and I know I have to like really trust my heart and go into it, or maybe there's something where I'm just stuck in my head and I know I need to bring it into my body. This is when I grab bergamot and I shower myself in it. I'm like a walking diffuser of bergamot. It's fantastic. And it's like a floral scent. So it's very,
it smells so good. That's one of my favorites.
Is it? Yes.
Yeah.
So good. And it's in so many different things that we don't really notice bergamot is in. It's actually the base of Earl Grey tea.
Yep.
So if you go back in days, and I spent 6 months in Southeast Asia last year, so tea time is a real thing over there. Yeah. And one of the things that I noticed was Earl Grey tea was what you drank at tea time. And if you think about this, around 2 to 3 p.m. of a work day, that's about when you're like, okay, I need some real encouragement to get the last couple hours of work done. I need some happy support. I need some calming, some focusing. And so they would drink this Earl Grey tea, which has bergamot in it, to give them all that they need to move forward and complete their day and still go home and do all their home activities.
That makes so much sense. I love that. See, and that's another thing. Like, I love that oils and chakras are very much connected to food and movement. There's all these different like modalities that can be brought together. I love it so much. So, and that actually is a good then transition to our next, which is the solar plexus, which is all about taking action, right? So this is where we start to really move into the physical plane. And so, as I said, this is all about your personal power, determination, strength, confidence, right? And so connecting to your personal power. So getting in touch with what makes you feel strong, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, and really leaning into that, right? Maybe it's coming up with what your power pose is and making sure that you get into your power pose before you take action, right? And really then looking at creating not just an action plan, but an aligned action plan. When you come from this place of your throat chakra and your dream is very concise, and your heart chakra that you really love it and you know you have the support, you're able to then back it up with actions that are aligned. You're not just taking action to do, you're taking action because you're on a very specific path to achieve this goal, right? You're being proactive in a very clear and concise way. And it also then allows you to move through any resistance, right? So we'll talk about resistance more with the sacral, but it's this idea of taking action from a place with grace and ease. So it's, again, when we talk about the ebb and flow, it's this idea that sometimes you're in hustle mode, right? Like hustle, 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 work, work, work. But it's also that balance of like, when you're taking the action that's aligned, working smarter, not harder, right? So like maybe you just focus on 3 action steps and you pour your heart into them and you make sure that you are aligned with them and they happen.
Yes.
Right? Rather than like, here's the huge to-do list, because then it gets overwhelming, right? Then it doesn't feel easy. Then you get stuck.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love to talk about is how the big goal is scary. It is, because you don't see how you're going to do it. So if you take all of the action steps and break them down, and then you can circle the ones that you need to do first, and that starts prioritizing you. But you know at that point, here's everything that I need to do to be able to move forward.
Yeah. This is where, with my group programs, this is where we really dive in and we work on reverse engineering your goals.
Yes.
So I'll dive into the group program, but that's the week when we talk about the solar plexus is when we do the reverse engineer, because you could look at it and be like, this dream is way too big. Like, I can't do it. I don't know where to start. Right? When you reverse engineer it and you break it down into those baby steps, that you're like, oh, all I have to do today is sign up for that class. That's my action step.
Yep. And that's simple.
Right?
That's doable.
It's like, then you're going to get that momentum and it's going to bring you to the goal. That might seem scary right now, but when you know, it becomes easy.
Absolutely. I love that. And so the oil that I actually pair with your solar plexus is juniper, guys. Juniper is my favorite oil. So little history about juniper. It was the first essential oil that I actually saw being distilled. I saw it a few years ago now.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. So I got to see all of the wood chips before they actually went into the machine, and then them being distilled, what that smells like, what color it is, that whole process. It was fascinating. But juniper, if you look back at the historical meaning behind juniper, people would actually bundle it. So juniper berries, they look kind of like blueberries. They're just a little bit smaller. And so people would take this berry bush and bundle them together and hang it upside down over their homes as protection. So each time that they left their home, they felt protected and nothing was going to come into their home when they aren't wanting it to.
Yep.
So basically a perfect oil to align with your chakra, because it gives you the power that you are in control.
I love that. Yeah. And that's such a thing that I'm always talking about with my clients, is the fact that like, you're at cause, right? You can control the controllables. Yeah. So and that gives you your power and strength. I love that. So good. So that brings us then to the sacral chakra, which, as I started to mention before, is all about releasing resistance. So the sacral chakra is all about play and creativity, sensuality, pleasure. And so this is where we talk about the idea of boundaries and fighting burnout and fatigue and self-care and allowing yourself to give and receive pleasure, in allowing that to be, it's this idea of work and play, right? When you're working towards your goals, that you can combat the seriousness, the hard, the potential overwhelm by saying yes to pleasure, to setting setting your framework of, I know when, where, how, and with who I'm going to make play part of my life.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you, right? The idea of pleasure, play, creativity can look different for everyone. For a lot of my soul humans, it's dance or visual arts. But it could be anything, right? It could be as simple as taking a walk, right? Whatever feels like it's going to get your creative juices going and stop you from being stagnant and allow you to release. So again, it's this idea of like even something because the sacral chakra is very much about emotions and feeling. It's this idea, like sometimes crying, whether it's happy tears or sad tears, is a form of release.
Yes.
And so anything that just like shakes up the energy and releases it out, takes you from that place of action in the solar plexus into the final step of the root chakra, which we'll get to.
Ah, I love that. And so with the sacral chakra, I actually pick from a few different oils, just depending on how everything's going. Are we working from the root, or the root up, or the oh my goodness, or the crown down? There we go.
Yep.
And so I pick just different ones depending on what's going on in your life, because I feel like the sacral chakra is so important for you and how you can really check in with you. So it depends on what you're liking right there. And so today I'm going to tell you a little bit about ylang-ylang. And ylang-ylang is actually grown in Ecuador on our farm down there. And it's such an amazing plant, but it's a great one when we're trying to balance the female and male energies. And I feel like that's such a great spot to balance is in the sacral chakra, because you're already asking yourself and answering those questions of like, what's the balance? How am I feeling today? Do I need to pull a little bit from my feminine? Do I need to pull a little bit from my masculine? What do I need? And that ylang-ylang allows you to do that.
Yes, that's very, very good for the sacral chakra, 100%. And it's interesting too, this is sidebar, a conversation that I've had with people, is the idea that going back to the idea of dualities, each chakra has a more masculine or feminine energy, and it could be used in different ways, right? So sacral by nature tends to be a more feminine energy, or associated with more feminine energy. Solar plexus, being the action and the do, tends to be more of a masculine energy. And so it's things like, if you are really focusing on tapping into your feminine, how can you take something like the solar plexus that might be traditionally more male energy? How can you make that more feminine for yourself, or vice versa, depending on where you're at? And so I love the idea of using oil to bring that energy in as well. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So finally, we get then to the root chakra. This is your foundation, right? This is all about your physical health period. So this is where your sense of stability, security, and trust come from. And so respecting your roots of your physical body, right? It's what connects you to your physical body at the core. So, and to the earth. So doing things like completing your fulfillments, right? When we talk about the manifestation chain, it's seeing them through to fruition to the physical. And this is also, we talk about boundaries with both sacral and root. And so it's this idea that freedom can actually be born out of limitation. So by creating boundaries, you can birth yourself into freedom as well. And the root chakra, again, is where we talk about things like your fight or flight and your basic instincts. And so really checking in with that identity level, right? Of really making sure that you believe in your dream and that there's not any limiting beliefs. We talked about it with the crown. We talked about it again at the root. Like, this is the last step as you're bringing your goal to fruition. And so really making sure that your emotions and your mindset and all these things are at square one, where they need to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I love that you reminded us that we talk about it at the top and at the bottom, because it really is like the whole wheel that comes together and is constantly moving and grooving within each other. So root chakra is so very important. And I love that you brought up that limitations do allow you to go into freedoms. And this is one of the things that I coach on all the time with creating self-love routines. You are actually creating this routine that might seem like you're restricting yourself, but that's only to create the routine in your life. And we know to get rid of a bad habit, it takes, somewhere between 20 to 25 days. And then you have time after that to actually create the new habit. So we typically say that this whole process is about 67 days, where we're really working hard on losing that bad habit and bringing in the good habit. And so you kind of have to create those blinders so that you can get through those 67 days. And then after that, it's almost like, you're in cloudland because you have so much free time and you actually, this is a routine. These are my non-negotiables that I do every single day to set myself up further and moving and grooving in the rest of the things that I want to accomplish in my life.
Yeah.
So the essential oil that I love pairing with the root chakra, and it's paired with the third eye chakra actually, but I love pairing it with the root chakra, is actually frankincense. And this oil goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. It's one of the oldest oils. And that's why I totally feel connected with bringing it into the root chakra, because you are able to really ground yourself in yourself and your ancestors and any of the source that you believe in, and moving forward and grooving with all of that. I noticed I said moving and grooving a few times today. But anyways, it just really centers you and pulls it all together and creates this really strong balance between all of your chakras, and then also allows you to think of them not only moving down, but once they're all connected, it shoots right back up.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, we are always in that ebb and flow. We always have to be aware of our energy flowing and floating and ebbing and flowing through both directions, right? And knowing that your root chakra really is about like your primal needs, right? And I love that you're talking about this idea of like, it takes time to form a habit. It takes time to create that foundation, but once you have it, that's your foundation.
Yeah.
So solid. You need a solid foundation, right? So you need solid root chakra. So tuning into your physical health and well-being, whatever that might look like for you, is so important. And whether it's starting there or whether it's being mindful of it at the end as you're bringing a dream to fruition, key.
Yes, absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
It's so cool how the body works in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I've got. For people who want to know about how to work with me going forward, I essentially have 3 offerings. So my big thing that I'm super, super, super excited about is my Chakra Shine Manifestation Experience. So this is an 8-week program. We start in about 2 weeks. And so we're going to walk through the same way we went from crown to root today. We're going to spend a full week in each chakra, really looking at what those routines, those practices, the journal prompts, the tools and resources to work with your mindset and get clear on your identity and your goals and all of these things. So I've paired the chakra knowledge with a mindset tool each week. And again, the idea of 8 weeks brings us to that same time frame you were talking about, right? So that's the time frame we need to really get clear and start to manifest our goals. So that is the first thing I'm super excited about. Group program. So there'll be a Facebook group, there'll be group calls. It's all about community, but there's also the opportunity for a VIP level for extra one-on-one support. And then with one-on-one sessions, I have single sessions and long-term packages where we really dive deeper. We use the chakras as an intuitive guide, and then we use these mindset tools to really dig deep into whatever area or areas of life you're needing support around. And lastly is the intuitive card pulls that I mentioned at the very top of this, where I pull 7 cards and give you an intuitive reading around a particular issue or area of life that you're wanting to raise your vibes around. So that's me. My Instagram handle is here. It's Namaste with Nams. So you can find me there. I'm much more active over on Instagram, but that's where I share all the goodies.
Yes. Thank you.
That's where we connected. So
yes, it is. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all of this amazingness, and also how people can get in contact with you, because your work is phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. So if you guys are loving this information about essential oils, let's talk about it. So if this is the first time that you've ever heard about essential oils, then tonight at 6:30 Eastern time, I'm doing a back to basic essential oil 101 with one of my really close friends, Mallory. We're going to be talking all about all things oils and how to get started with them. And then we'll be working one-on-one on how you integrate it into your life. And I know earlier I talked about ditching those toxins and switching into a natural situation. And that's something that I work with you and process with you. And we start with one room. So it's not all of the things you're ditching and switching. It's a process that we work together and work through all of those limiting beliefs, because sometimes it is really hard to grab that Clorox and put it in the trash. But once you actually read all of the ingredients in the back of it, you're gonna believe me, and you're gonna be throwing it in the trash, and then you're gonna be grabbing for your thieves instead. And this is going to replace all of those things. And then if you want to work more with me, I also do one-on-one coaching, and I would love to support you guys in that way. I am a self-love and mindset coach. And so all of the things that you guys learned are tools that I pull from out of my toolbox, and I get to support you in that way. So again, I have one-on-one coaching and also coaching bundles, and I'd love to talk to you more about how this could work in your life. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited.
This is so fun. Yeah. I feel like I just want to echo it again, the card that I pulled, because you mentioned it again, the idea of you are just getting started. So have patience with yourself and the process, and do not give up. So whatever area of life you're working on, whether it is switching from toxic to clean, whether it's working on your mindset, whether it's physical goals, business goals, whatever they are, everything is a process. And that's the beauty of the work that both of us do in supporting our soul humans. So this is wonderful.
I love it. And thank you. So if anyone has any further questions, I'll be here answering them. Just go ahead and comment below. I've been kind of checking up, and I don't think we have any questions. I thank everyone for being here today and just joining us on this Facebook journey.
Yes. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Marissa.
Yeah, of course. See you next time.
Bye, guys.